YouTube chat. Hey, YouTube, how are you? Do me a favor. I just explained the Periscope. Facebook is going to launch here in a few seconds. Um, Facebook, YouTube, you're over here. Let me look right into the camera. That's you over here. Periscope in the center, and Facebook all the way over to the left. If you're new to these live chats, I've got hundreds of new followers because I'm in Toronto covering the NHL return. And here's how these live chats work. First of all, like and share. Two, comment, ask questions. This is more about you and I having a conversation, more so than me just blah, you know, prognosticating and pontificating and blathering at you. These live chats are much more that way. So let's see if the Facebook live chat doesn't look like Facebook is actually working. It's supposed to do it like automatically. So bear with me. 8 o'clock. I don't see a button that says, oh, going live. Okay. Okay, well, Facebook is, we'll let them catch up. So here's the deal. Obviously, the Pittsburgh Penguins looked like hot garbage for the most of 4 games, which is kind of an unfair statement for me to make because the reality is they really did, for the most part, dominate the puck in Game 1. They dominated the puck and territory in Game 2. Game 3 they did for a while. And Game 4 they absolutely took a nap. Took a dirt nap, really. So let me try to get the Facebook folks. So I feel bad for them. I promised them. Okay, I think we've got Facebook. Let me... Okay. All right, do me a favor, kids. So fire away with the questions. Let me try to shrink everything. Listen, the offseason is going to be wild. I was already told from one of our favorite sources, be careful how strong you go early because this is going to be a long offseason and a lot of decisions are going to start and they're going to percolate and they're going to be more and more decisions as the offseason goes along. It's not going to be one big hurricane right up front. It's going to be kind of a rolling change, so to speak. I saw one question already. There we go. There's, hey, Cal66, hey, Matt, and JCW, this should be good. Listen, I'm not going to breathe fire and brimstone. You guys have been beaten to hell and back watching that series. What am I going to, shake my fist and do that for you? Does Recchi get fired for his abysmal power play? Who do you think the Pens are eyeing as a free agent? Well, we haven't gotten quite to the free agency stage yet. Do I think Mark Recchi will be in trouble for the power play? Truth? I don't even know that Mark Recchi handles the power play. So look over here at Facebook now, Dina. I don't think that Recchi really handles the power play, and if he does, if the power play is Mark Recchi's responsibility, oh boy, yeah, he's going to be in trouble, and perhaps should be in trouble. Look, you can't have Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang freelancing for everybody else. Those days are gone. Barry Trotz, the New York Islanders, figured out very quickly how to beat all of that freelancing. And you know what they did? They just attack. They attack at the blue line to make the zone entry much more difficult. They look over here at Facebook too. Let me make sure that I'm live on Facebook too. Oh, there. Okay, so now we're finally catching up here on Facebook, and you can see my deodorant, at least over there. So Trotz really innovated the attack on the Penguins' power play by just building a blue line wall, which really confused them. Once the Penguins got in, then they would really attack high at the zone. And they would also kind of bring a guy, instead of a box, what the Islanders used to do was they'd have a point defense. There's Facebook over here. They would have a point defense, but then kind of sag one guy back into the middle. So that quick cross ice pass between Kessel and Malkin, and now Crosby and Malkin, or Gensel and Malkin, or whoever swings over to the other circle opposite of Genny Malkin, that pass simply wasn't there. And the rest of the league, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Now everybody does it. They just go after the Penguins. And so that whole theory and process of letting Malkin, letting Letang get the puck and figure it out from there, well, that doesn't work. But yet the Penguins are still kind of in that mode. Now, they did kind of run the power play in Game 3 anyway, from the right wing circle with Evgeny Malkin, and kind of branch out from there. They confused the Canadians for a bit, got a couple cross ice passes. Hornquist slipped away from the net. They weren't expecting that, and buried essentially into an empty net. Here, I feel bad for you Facebookers over here. I didn't even check the comments on Facebook. Oh well, I'm assuming they'll be there. Let me check the YouTube comments. That's, I know, where most of these comments do come from. Cool. Let's see here. Okay. Any credence to the rapid ramp up and restarting favoring defensive teams over skill, which takes time to gel? I would if they only had a 2-week training camp, JCW. I would give a lot of credence to that. But a few factors. One, I watched Washington, Tampa Bay go at it. And those two teams were already on it. Philadelphia was actually pretty good, too, for all that they do. Look, Toronto hasn't had any trouble scoring goals the last couple games, have they? I mean, so there's that. Also, look, they had a month of Phase 2 training camp. These guys have been flying around the ice for the better part of 6 weeks. And they've been doing line rushes and scrimmages. You know what? If you can't get ready through all of that for a game that means everything, then, look, the Penguins didn't lose because their skill didn't gel. The Penguins lost because they weren't gritty enough. They didn't pound on Montreal in the battle zones. They didn't get the third stick. I think I wrote about this in the PHN report card. The Penguins didn't get the third stick in the battle, which that's been a long Sullivan preach. When you have that third stick there, then everything else kind of falls in line. Because you now have two people battling for the puck, so your odds are greatly increased. When that puck squirts loose, now you've got the third person to take it and run with it. And it loosens the defense, because they're chasing now. Okay, let's see here. Do I think Murray gets traded for a scoring winger? Oddly enough, that's from Nick Robertson. Well, Nick, if you're the same Nick Robertson, yeah, sure, come on to Pittsburgh. Listen, I don't know what the trade market is going to bear. I don't know what other teams, after watching the playoffs, I mean, don't forget, other teams, GMs, they watch these games too. And they saw Matt Murray be pedestrian for a lot of the season. They saw Matt Murray be pedestrian in the playoffs. How much are you going to give up for that? Does Sully need to switch from a fast game to something different since the vets are older? Interesting philosophical question. I don't think so, because I think the Penguins are still built. And Shane, don't misunderstand what speed means either. That means they play fast. It doesn't mean that they, try to outskate the other team. It just means they play fast. They don't give the other team, when they're on their game anyway, they're hard on the forecheck. They're hard to the walls. They're in there. So there's a lot of that. And I apologize, Facebook. Hi over here. Hi Facebook people. Get your questions in. And I don't know how to see the Facebook questions. Okay, so I'm just. There are some poll questions here on Facebook. And here's the important one I want to ask everybody. With the Penguins flop, absolute flop, does that change your perception of the organization? Does that change your perception of the team, or your enthusiasm? Will you buy as many tickets next year? Will you be as eager to buy tickets as you were? Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to go to a question on Periscope. Is there one realistic free agent or player available for trade you would like to see the Penguins target? Chucky Buckle, I haven't begun that research. I haven't begun those phone calls. Look, one of the things that separates Pittsburgh hockey now, and I take a lot of guff for it in certain quarters, is we've got an amazing network of sources right now. I mean, don't forget, we've got Boston and Colorado and San Jose now to the mix, and New York and Florida, and some of the most experienced beat writers in the league. Between the 7 of us, we know a lot of people. And when I start throwing out free agents, it's not happenstance. It's not like, oh, well, here's 3 guys I like. It's because I'm calling around, people say, hey, this guy would fit there, or hey, what about that guy? So that's here, sorry about that. So that's one thing. I don't see the Penguins big game hunting. I just don't. You might want to say Taylor Hall or Eberle is a free agent, is he not? Off the island, but you just don't know. And also don't forget, there's no look period this year. There's no week talk period. It's just going to be Armageddon on 7 days after the Stanley Cup is awarded. It is going to be absolute Armageddon. Faxes and emails and offers. I don't think anybody really knows what anybody is worth right now. So it's hard for me to say that. Plus, the Penguins have to make some decisions first on who they want to carry going forward. Probable destination for Matt Murray, guessing Colorado. Obviously, you probably followed our reports through the winter and the spring. I don't know anymore. I genuinely don't. I kind of don't see that Colorado stuff materializing. I really don't. If not a player, type of player, bottom 6 score. Listen, the Penguins have a lot of holes and a lot of needs. Let's not kid ourselves. Justin Schultz was as bad as I've ever seen him against Montreal. If you rewind the 9 goals that Schultz or that the Montreal Canadiens scored with a goalie in net, Schultz was responsible for about half of them. I mean, that's 4.5, but Schultz was responsible for 4 of them. I know the social media, oh my God, Jack Johnson was on the ice. Moving on. I think the Penguins could use a defenseman or 2. Because I don't think P.O. Joseph will be ready for true top 6 hard minutes next year. Mike Vellucci, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton GM and coach, loves Joseph. I mean, loves the kid. I don't think he's quite ready. And Vellucci kind of hinted at that too. That next year PO could get his feet wet in the NHL in certain situations, but he's not gonna storm the lineup. So the Penguins could use at least one defenseman, probably two. And yeah, the Penguins could use some scoring depth. Connor Sherry isn't it for my money. Um, they don't have a first line right wing, quite frankly, nor do they have a third line center. Jared McCann is not the answer there. McCann's a winger. Professionally speaking, McCann is a winger. Let me hop back here on Facebook, kids. Sorry if I've missed your question. Um, Biggest difference between these Pens and the 16-17 champs, Dave asks. Dave, that's a really impossible question to quantify. And here's why I say it's an impossible question to quantify. I remember those idiots over at the Pens blog back in 16 trying to make fun of me because I wrote the line, and actually I kind of liked the line, so it stuck with me. The Penguins were an avalanche of destiny, especially in 16. Oh yeah, Jim Rutherford made some great trades, but everything just fell into place. Connor Sherry was on fire, and Trevor Daley worked perfectly, and Carl Hagelin worked perfectly. Everything melded together in those championship teams. The biggest difference is they were determined to win the Stanley Cup. They were absolutely going to win it. They were not going to lose. Go back to March 1st, 2016, when the Penguins blew a third period lead to the Washington Capitals. I'll talk to Facebook for a second. Go back to that date. And I've written about this several times. In the tiny Washington Capitals visiting locker room there in D.C., what's now the Capital One Arena, the Penguins were just sore. And I don't mean physically sore, they were angry. Sidney Crosby barely moved his jaw. Like he was just talking like this. And Hornquist was just angrily shaking his head in the 90 seconds that he gave us. That launched the Penguins. Remember the march of the Penguins that year when they just laid waste to everyone. Now when the Penguins lose, they draw on that experience. Well, we've done this before. I think that's taken a little bit of the edge away from the team, to be honest. I think because they've won, there's a certain confidence or, better yet, a comfort. There's a comfort with the Penguins. And I'll let you believe this is ginger ale. It actually is ginger ale. There's a comfort with the Penguins that I think is a little bit destructive to the ultimate goal. Let me hop over here to YouTube. Let's see here. Should we fire Rutherford and Sullivan? Same thing happened in 2014 with Shero and Bielsma following 3-1 blown lead to the Rangers. No. No, Sullivan and, well, let me rephrase that. Rutherford is pretty safe. There is a little bit of concern in some parts of the organization about Mike Sullivan. I told you before Game 4. I gave you the background. Nobody else reported this, and I haven't reported it in writing because I'm still kind of, like, it's easier to describe the context verbally than it would be to put it. If I put it in writing, it goes nationwide, and too many people would misunderstand it. Mike Sullivan received suggestions, heavy suggestions, that he make changes for Game 4, or there would be very difficult conversations later. You know, that's kind of where we're at with it. So, I mean, I don't know if someone's going to make changes or not, and I know some emotions inside the organization, top to bottom, were raw, just absolute raw after Game 3. So So that could have been blown out of proportion. Don't but certainly Sullivan's seat is not hot. Sullivan's seat, however, isn't ice cold either. He has to perform next season. He has to deliver intensity. He has to, the team has to deliver intensity and be better next season. They've been really good in the regular season. If the Penguins, however, go into the playoffs next year and they get spanked again in the first round, that's when I think Mike Sullivan probably has met his end in Pittsburgh. If they lose in the playoffs badly again next year, but not until then. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, hey. We're on Facebook too. So let me do the math. Got 30 there. No one's on Periscope. So I'm gonna change my camera angles. I'm gonna move Facebook here to front and center, since no one's periscoping with us. That's what you get, Periscope. You get bounced to the far side. So I'm going to come back over here to YouTube. I saw a question back here somewhere about Poulin and Legare. Let me find it here. Well, I've got a ton of questions, you guys. Thanks. Did Sully lose the team? I don't think he lost the team. There wasn't an open rebellion or a mutiny against Mike Sullivan. I just think, picture it like this with a lawnmower. Here, sorry. Picture it like this with a lawnmower. You pull the cord and it kind of starts and it's not really there. I think that's what happened to the Penguins. They pulled that cord and it just wasn't really there this time. And that's a concern. McCann's production on the wing versus center, well, I think we all kind of know that. McCann will be a winger going forward if at all possible. Let Sherry, Marlowe, and Schultz walk. I think 2 of those 3 are guaranteed. Marlowe and Schultz, I don't see them coming back. Sherry, I don't know. If he signs $1 million contract, 1.5, and he's only a 30-point player. I mean, that's really what his leverage is. Let's see here. Oh, Poulin and Legare next season, add some young depth. Thanks for the question, Matt, Cecilia. Let me answer that in 2 parts. First of all, hop on to PHN Plus and check out our video scouting report of Nathan Legare. He will not be in the NHL next season. Maybe, unless a divine bolt of lightning hits him in this long off season and he comes to training camp understanding his roles better and a much bit quicker. Anything short of that, and he's probably back in juniors again next year. He, as excited as we all maybe got because of his training camp and that wicked wrist shot up in Drakkar, Bay Drakkar, he really wasn't good. We did. I kept grabbing more and more film, trying to find more highlights. We found some goals. A lot of the goals he was scoring there in the queue last year, it wouldn't fly in professional hockey. So he's got a long way to go. Second part of your answer now, Matt. Sam Poulin, I like a lot. I think he took that step this year. I think that growth, both as a person and as a player, was tremendous. I give him a real chance to make the roster out of training camp next year. Don't get too excited, though. The kid is not going to score 45 goals. He's not going to score 30 goals his rookie year. He probably slots in as, well, he played a lot of left wing this year, which Penguins are pretty crowded at left wing. And obviously, the hope was Jared McCann would take the center position. And, so what do you do with Poulin if he's going to be a 3rd or a 4th line left winger? That, that creates some problems with Jared McCann, and B, or it creates problems with, do you want him on the 4th line playing 10 minutes? I don't necessarily mind that for a rookie. You know, let him work his way up the lineup. But the Penguins will be very stocked on left wing. Or not Legare. Poulin can play some right wing too, but I don't know if you want to do that to a kid at the NHL level. Toss him in as a rookie, and oh, by the way, we're going to put you kind of on your off wing. Let's see here. Lego Rocks 99 says if Pens get the first overall pick, they're going to trade it to Ottawa. Well, who the hell's Lego Rocks, and why do I care what he thinks? Let's see here. I heard the Pens might trade Murray to Vancouver for Markstrom and a prospect. Kyle, stop drinking what it looks like I'm drinking, but not. Okay, I'm going through trying to find some legit questions here. I love you guys on YouTube, but man, sometimes y'all need to focus a little bit for me. Ricola is an RFA. Keep him, maybe for $2 million a season. His price tag will be less than that. But yes, I think the Penguins would love to keep Juuso Riikola. They love. Listen, this is one of those things. I write so much, and I know so much falls through the cracks. You're like, holy crap! Like you look back, you miss a few days, and I've written 10 articles sometimes. The Penguins, the inside source here, told us about Juuso Riikola. The Penguins absolutely love him. They think he's got worlds of potential, physical talent, and raw skill. The knock on Riikola is that he hasn't yet really adjusted to the North American rinks. The quick bounces, the quick reads, the quick plays, everything has to be faster. So, it's a different game, and they're not confident that he's there yet. They love where they think he's going to be. How long am I going to stay in Toronto? I'm going to cover the Bruins game tomorrow, and I'll do that for Boston Hockey Now. I think I'm going to head home Monday. Toronto is it's not the city that I remember. I used to work up here quite a bit, and I mean there's just homeless camps everywhere, and I don't believe that kind of passive public policy helps anybody. You know, when you have buckets of waste everywhere and people, it's not good. I haven't really enjoyed my time up here like I used to. Let's see here. Team needs some mean and nasty, but not at the expense of speed. Zadorov or Dylan is actually kind of a slow defenseman. He's a bit of a plotter. I mean, look, if you guys crush Jack Johnson, just imagine what these, the internet mavens are going to do to, maybe they won't crush Brendan Dillon, but Brendan Dillon and Jack Johnson are actually a bit similar. How's that? Sullivan seems to be reaching Mike Babcock levels of stubbornness, says 95, with making changes that are required. Any idea why he seems less flexible now when he first got to Pittsburgh? That's an interesting question. Why is Mike Sullivan less flexible? Part of it's situation. When he first came to Pittsburgh, things weren't going well. You have to make changes. And everybody's new, and so no one was really established beyond the Penguins' core on that team. Two, you get comfortable with players. You trust them. You learn them. You know what you're gonna get. It's not a box of chocolates with some of these guys. And so Sullivan, let's be honest. What you're really asking is about Matt Murray and why didn't he go to Matt Murray sooner? That's a really good. Why didn't he go to Tristan Jarry? There were some in the organization who wanted Tristan Jarry to start the series. They were leaning towards him after what we saw in Game 4. How can you argue? I probably would have gone to Jarry as well if I were behind the bench. But Yeah, Murray's rebound control was bad in game one, but then the Penguins won game two, so of course you're going to come back with him. That's kind of the problem. If the Penguins had won game one and Murray was bad, and then they lose game two, you see Jari in game three, just the way it worked out. You're going to come back to Murray in game three. Dave says, I think if Sullivan gets off to a shaky start next season, he's gone. Short leash. I don't think the leash is short, but if the Penguins show up next season, whenever that is, and by the way, the rampant talk around Toronto is that the season will not start in December. No one is expecting it to actually start in December. You know, the mid-November training camp, no one is really expecting that because, look, the NHL pulls a lot of money from gate revenues. They're not going to put players in a bubble for 82 games or a couple months to start the season. They'll just delay the season. So that whole January thing, provided we get that vaccine in November and get enough people immunized that society can begin to function again. So that's when we're going to see the next hockey season. But if back to the Dave's question, if the Penguins do indeed have a bad start next year, the question is how bad. We're not going to see, for you old fans, you might remember Ivan Halinka being fired 4 games into the 2000-2001 season. That's not going to happen to Mike Sullivan. So, however you want to define that. Let's see here. Do I think the teams that played in the play-in series have an advantage over the round-robin teams? No. I really don't, because I saw some really good quality hockey from Washington and Tampa Bay and Philadelphia. Boston, they're getting their act together. But game one, round one, when everyone flips that switch, I think it's going to be a different story. And I think a lot of these qualifying teams, the upset, the underdogs are going to get a good spanking. Is the window closed for this core? Shane, read Pittsburgh Hockey Now, man. Go to PittsburghHockeyNow.com right now, Shane. I'm not going to answer your question. I'm just going to, right there, real big, I answer that question. Should the Pens sign Nikita Teramakin? Stop it, Kyle. I always read Kyle's question and realize it's from Kyle. Damn it, he got me again. Which Penguins players do I expect to be traded this offseason? Obviously, I think Matt Murray is the odd man out in goal. And I don't expect Nick Bjugstad back with the team next year. However, see, here's where things get complicated, and here's where it's going to take a long time to sort things out, really. Are the Penguins comfortable going into a full season with Jared McCann at center? I would have been until I saw the playoff performance, which was just not good enough. So, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, let me check some messages here. Oh, Chucky Buckle wants to, can I suggest 3 to 4 cities to take a road trip to see a Penguins game whenever we are allowed? Yes. Montreal. I'll keep them cheap. Otherwise, I would say make the Edmonton-Calgary run. That's pretty awesome. But go to Montreal. I always like going to a Rangers game at Madison Square Garden. There's just a buzz inside that building. It's kind of fun. So go to Montreal, New York City, and you know what? If you want to take an expensive trip, go to San Jose. My boy Sheng will hook you up. It's only a 30-minute drive into San Francisco on the non-peak, non-rush hour times. Hop into San Francisco, get yourself some Ghirardelli's chocolate, and take the tours. Those, I think, are the 3. If you want to talk about fun arenas to go watch a game, that would be Tampa Bay, Washington, Columbus, and Montreal. if you want just for the pure hockey experience, Tampa Bay, Washington, Columbus, and Montreal. Let me hop back over here to Facebook. Robert asks, do I think Malkin or Letang get traded? I don't think that. I definitely don't see Malkin getting traded. I pondered it, Robert, and I'm not going to criticize your question because I pondered the same thing. And I kind of even poked around inside and got hell no kind of response. So, Malkin was bad in the playoffs. Those 4 games were far from his best. I don't know if all of you know this. Sportsnet quasi-reported, opined, wondered if Malkin was having back spasms or had a back spasm. If that were true, that would certainly change the game, wouldn't it? Malkin had 74 points in 55 games this year. Malkin carried the Pittsburgh Penguins. Don't forget that. Malkin carried the Penguins from November into January. That was the most impressive stretch I've seen Malkin play in years. Don't overlook that at the expense of the terrible 4 games in the playoffs. Who could the Pens get for Jari? I don't think it matters. Oh, that's Kyle jumped over to Facebook on me. Look at that. See that? YouTubers. Kyle left us here on YouTube. He's over at Facebook throwing in dumbass questions. With the expansion draft coming, well, that's next year. That's not this offseason. That's next June. Who do I think they protect, Murray or Jari? Well, that decision will have been made by next summer. Schultz, Letang, yeah, Steve, unfortunately, the premise of your question is a little flawed there. 2021 is the expansion draft. Changes need to be made, yeah. Do I think Mark Recchi will be fired? I think Mark Recchi has to answer some questions. If he can't run the power play, do they bring in somebody who can? Ryan says Poulin needs to stay in juniors if he's not going to play top 6 minutes. I think there's legit, Ryan, there's legit opinion. I think top 9. Don't pigeonhole him into the top 6, but top 9. He's not on that third line. Yeah, you do send him back to Sherbrooke. Do I think Jim Rutherford is going anywhere? No, I don't think Jim Rutherford is going to go anywhere. I mean, look, the guy, he is 70 years old. He's not going to do this too many more years. But he's also a pretty spry 70-year-old. You know what I mean? He really, I look at him and I marvel because he doesn't look, sound, act, behave like a 70-year-old. He's got a lot of miles left on those tires. But by the same token, will he be doing this in 5 years? We'll have to ask him. Okay. What was wrong with Gino, a non-factor in the series yet, Nancy? Honestly, we don't know what was wrong with Evgeny Malkin and why he was such wallpaper in that series. But what we do know is he had a really good regular season. So I guess we'll just hang our hat on that. Okay. Hey, Cal. Appreciate you hopping by. Would love to know what Mario Lemieux thinks of this today. I would love to be in the office when he meets with Sullivan, JR, and others. Yeah, let's tackle a couple of these. And I'm going to talk out loud here because I haven't written this stuff so that it's not entirely organized in my brain yet. The trade deadline. Patrick Marleau didn't work, and quite frankly, it was predictable that it didn't work. I didn't like that move from the beginning, and yeah, whatever that was, I'm not sure why Patrick Marleau. Oh, I don't want to set that there. Acquiring Connor Sherry for Dominic Cahoon. Look, the Penguins coaches liked Dominic Cahoon, but he wasn't gelling with the Penguins system. He was zigging when the centers wanted to zag. They wanted a winger to take speed and go wide, and Cahoon wanted to dangle and play with the puck, and that was just a bit of a collision there. Cahoon he kicked the Penguins after he scored a few goals in Buffalo pretty quick too. Like, yeah, I fit better here, and he's true. He was correct. Let's see here. How do we beat the trap next year? Chris G asks. Well, Chris, it's the same way every year, really. You have to fight through the trap. You have to be physically tough. You have to be mentally patient. You have to get the puck in. You have to win those battles. You have to start winning those battles. And that's why I talked about the third stick in. Penguins need that third stick in. They need to get, that's one of the things. Look, the Devils 20 years ago when they had Marty Brodeur, what made them so ridiculously difficult to beat was, in fact, that Brodeur was such a good stick handler. So a lot of dump-ins, Brodeur would just send them right back out or move them to his defenseman, and the Devils had possession. Carey Price was a lot in that same way. So you have to do those soft dumps, a lot of cross-ice soft dumps into the corner, and you have to have speed. You have to coordinate that dump in. You have to get your guys flying across that blue line and in on the defenseman. You have to tenderize the defenseman a little bit too. Once you start winning a couple of those puck battles, then you hold the puck down low. Once you get that possession, wow, that light above me there is giving me a kind of a purple halo, huh? That's weird. Sorry, I can see what you see. Let's try. Move it back. Sound quality might be a little different, but the visual will be a little better. So Chris, that's how you beat the trap. There really aren't a lot of ways to do it. Who could we draft? Well, let's find out if the Penguins are drafting first, 15th, or not at all. The Penguins still have the option to give that pick to Minnesota. So there's that. It's not a guarantee the Penguins are going to draft in the first round this year. Reeves and Gutty should have stayed and got rid of JJ and Bukestad instead. Yeah. Well, Reeves, for whatever reason, didn't fit here. But Goodbranson was a bit heartbroken on how everything went. I mean, he was a really gregarious guy, and he and I had some fun conversations about nothing about the Penguins, about hockey and other generalities. He really worked hard coming into this regular season, and he was really ready to resurrect his career and seize the chance because he felt like he played really well last year. And the way it went down, look, Josh Yeo had reported and gotten some trouble because Jim Rutherford really denied it. And Josh, I don't believe Josh to be a guy who's going to run with something erroneous too often. And when he said there's a trade coming in 48 hours, I tend to believe Josh. It fell through. Everything that we know, every arrow points to a different trade falling through, and that would have probably been involving Jack Johnson, not Eric Goodbranson. I think the Penguins really could have used Goodbranson throughout the season. And with Goodbranson, I think Juuso Riikola would have gotten a better look as well. But Riikola and Schultz couldn't. Those guys would have been a terrible pairing. Riikola Goodbranson would have been a pretty good third pairing. Let Riikola grow, but they just couldn't do it. Let's see here. How does the seeding work? The draft picks, the Penguins, because they have the best record of all the qualifying round losers. If they don't win that first overall pick, they would be the last qualifying round loser, which drafts 15th. Do I think the Penguins, Nancy asked, do I think the Penguins system is too soft? Well, systems by themselves, Nancy, aren't soft. And I refer you back to the regular season. think of how tough to play against the Penguins were for most of the season. How gritty they were, how tough on the wall they were. That's really, when the Penguins are doing those things, they're really good. The problem kind of becomes, and Mike Sullivan didn't have an answer. I looked it up on February 19th when I asked him, what can you pinpoint why your team changes with Crosby and Malkin in the lineup? And he's like, I don't have a good answer for you. I try, essentially what he said, I'm paraphrasing, of course, was like, I implore them to do the simple things we've been doing. We're at our best when we do those things, but I don't have a good answer why we stop doing a lot of those when the two-headed monster is healthy. So, if you're asking if the system is soft, no. I think the players want to play a different game when they're fully healthy, and they have to unplug that. The Penguins are going to have to be pluggers, angry pluggers, for the foreseeable future. Just because the league is too fast, too rigid, too structured now to freelance around them. The old glory days and the salad days of freewheeling hockey are behind us. If you can't trade Johnson and offer 75%, I'm not doing the Jack Johnson stuff. I mean, seriously, it's like it's like a game. Who can have the most over-the-top Jack Johnson hate? Stop it. Literally, you can't do more than 50% of his salary. You send him home and pay him. He does less damage if he's not on the ice. Hank, if you want to be taken seriously, you got to bring better stuff than the internet group think. It's just, I'm tired of the Jack Johnson stuff. Listen to the hockey professionals. Stop listening to the bloggers. Stop listening to Twitter. Listen to the professionals, the people who actually get paid to build hockey teams and know what they're doing. Listen to them. If they thought Jack Johnson was that bad, he would have been gone already. And as we go to Pittsburgh Hockey Now, look at the breakdowns. We just did it frame by frame, step by step in the play. If you go through those stories and you come back to me and say, oh, they're all Jack Johnson's fault, I know you didn't read them. That's kind of the problem. It's like I can't get sunlight in to see the balance. Anywho. Hey Chris, I just want to thank me for my hard work covering the Pens. Amazing content even during the NHL pause. Insights and breakdowns of players and games is next to none. Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate that. I mean, I genuinely do. It was not easy, and it's hard a lot of days, and I get a lot of crap from the Pittsburgh establishment, and I'm not going to go any further than calling it the Pittsburgh establishment. I get a lot of garbage hurled our way behind the scenes I'm not supposed to know about, and this and that, but when you all appreciate it, when I see the traffic and when I see the subscribers grow, I really do. I do thank you all. It's not easy sometimes. There are certainly some people who do not want Pittsburgh Hockey Now to exist in any way, shape, or form other than someone's hobby that just goes away and leaves the establishment, the media establishment alone. I'm not. We're too big. We're too strong now. This is too much of an operation. 3 years ago, I might have considered going away. But look, we've got 7 franchises across the league, and we're growing, and everyone's making money. This is our job. This is our lives. This is our livelihood here. So, Chris, appreciate the hell out of you saying that. Do I think they will re-sign McCann after being this bad for so? Was he really that bad for that long? Yeah. Yes, they're going to re-sign Jared McCann. Okay, so listen, kids, I've done 50 minutes. Here is the last call. Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, triple. And I appreciate all of this. We've had a few hundred people here for the live chat on a Saturday night. I mean, come on, you're not supposed to be hanging out online on a Saturday night, but appreciate you all. Okay, so no questions over on Periscope. Let's see. I saw the caps remain flat. Does that mean a big contract goes out? Um, Look, no, not necessarily, because the Penguins are going to lose Justin Schultz's $5.5 million. They're going to trade a goalie. So there goes $4 million out the window. If you want to say that trading Bukestad is a big contract out the window, I might say okay. Or if they keep Bukestad and kind of knuckle under Jared McCann for a contract, I think that's entirely possible. Those are decisions to be made, but no, the Penguins don't have to actively try to purge salary in order to get cap compliant for next year. They might want to purge a few salaries so that they can add some scoring up front. I mean, or you know, I don't think we'll see it. We're not going to see a top four defenseman added with John Marino, Pedersen, Letang, and Dumoulin, but certainly a couple third pairing guys are a possibility. But you're not going to see a great salary purge. All right, so I saw the YouTube questions flying here for the last call. Thank you, Wolf Gaming. Appreciates what we're doing here too. Yeah, I did all of this work for 3 games. 3 games. But I think the Penguins could sign Chris Tanev. Minute eater, good penalty killer. We'll see. We'll see what Vancouver does with him, and we'll see what he wants. We'll find those things out. So many of those questions are unanswerable right now because we just don't know the salary levels that players are going to seek, what teams are going to have. Jack Johnson is overpaid. $3.25 million does put him in the bottom 50 defensemen, bottom 50 veteran defensemen in the NHL, who aren't on minimum contracts, kind of bubble players. Removing those guys, Jack Johnson is in the bottom 50. Does that put him overpaid? Don't you hate facts and stats? Thoughts on Zucker and his fit? Good question, Shane. Zucker is inconsistent. He's up and he's down. He's streaky. He's also pretty well paid. So we're going to find out a lot next season. If the Penguins can mold him into the straight-ahead speedster that they want, who can also put the puck in the net, he's going to fit very well. If he kind of stays to the side, doesn't move his feet enough like he did a few times this year, and Mike Sullivan called him out on it. If he goes bone dry like he did in Minnesota on the scoring sheet, he doesn't fit, and you could see Jim Rutherford. Make a change there and move him along. Cup winner prediction. You're gonna hate me to say this. I think it's Tampa Bay. Washington is a real close second, at least in the East. Colorado has something going there out west. Colorado, Vegas will be in the conference finals, and depending on how this seeding works out, Washington, Tampa Bay in the East, and boy, I have no idea amongst those 4 teams. If I had to predict, I'd probably think whoever wins Tampa Bay, Washington. Colorado doesn't necessarily have the experience, and I think they might get a little bit overwhelmed in a cup final. Although there's no fans to get overwhelmed by, right? So that could be interesting. Vancouver wants to sign Tyler Toffoli. Okay. Jari's 1 save made Murray's 3 start look bad. Yeah. Look, Jari was really good in Game 4, and go to PittsburghHockeyNow.com. Look at the silver lining story that I wrote. Jari was just spectacular in 4. Feel bad for Marleau? Well, I mean, look, the guy's 40. He's made a lot of money. He's had some good chances. He's actually had some great chances to win a Stanley Cup in San Jose. But, it never came to fruition, and part of that is on him. It's not the end of the world if a player doesn't win a Stanley Cup before they're done. Most don't. So there's that. Like the video for our man Dan. Let's see here. Okay, that is. Oh, McCann got benched for no reason. Well, Jesse, yeah, there. McCann certainly deserved pine time. That third line was absolutely brutal. McCann was defaulting to a defensive posture even when there was offense to be played, and it went on for a couple games before Sam Lafferty got the tap. I like McCann a lot too. He's got a lot of tools in the toolbox, but he really has to put them all together more often. Hey, do me a favor before you all leave. Like this video on Facebook. Give me a like on YouTube. Give me the likes. That means YouTube pays me more, and that means Facebook pays me more, and that means they promote our content more as well. You all over here on Periscope, well, Periscope kind of sucks, doesn't it? Hopefully you came over here. Hopefully you came over here to Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to say goodbye to Periscope. Have fun, kids. Thank you for stopping by. There, Periscope is gone. So it's just you and me, Facebook and YouTube. I should go live once a week. Well, I did all season, live once a week. I've done enough live Periscopes and such this week. Matt Geitka has been doing the Pittsburgh post-game on the YouTube channel. So, but yeah, it'll be tough going through the offseason because nothing's going to happen now for like a month. Literally nothing is going to happen with the Penguins. They're not going to make any trades in the next month. They're not going to make any announcements that they've made any personnel decisions. So we're gonna hit a dead zone into September before we can really start hammering the free agent stuff. And even then, it's going to be tough to do the free agent stuff because teams will still be playing and still have time to make a decision and all of that. Every year this happens. There's some big-name free agents on the market, and people start to salivate. Ooh, they're going to be available. And then their team signs them. And then by free agent frenzy day, a lot of the meat is already off the bone. All right. Okay, kids. I appreciate you. I'm going to wrap all of this up. Facebook. Hi and bye. Thanks. Have fun. And YouTube. Over here. Hi, thanks, and bye. Don't forget to give me the like before you leave. All right. Show yourselves out. Have fun.